Peace to the tribes. Peace to the tribe. We about to get into some things just like we always do. And I mean, you should already know right about now we like to focus on what's referred to as the Indigenous Negro, the Autochthonous Naga of these lands that, is referred to as the Americas. Peace to the real ones, we just getting acquainted with the vibe. Aha, to all the real dragoons, the Dracons. Aha to everybody. We're just reflecting on this land, this set apart, isolated, promised land. Promise to the Creator's children. Alright, we're just talking about the children of the Creator. Ahab to you, that is. Peace and powwow to everybody tuning in. You should definitely already know what time it is right about now. And you should know that the ground underneath your feet belongs directly to you. It is your inheritance. This is your birthright, naturally. And although they try to drown out your inner voice, it is your ancient connection, your ancient love song that will soon rise again. So, we getting back to it. Peace to the real ones. Ahab to the tribe. Peace to the tribes. You know what I'm saying? It's a Shalom flow. And as we said before, we was going to go ahead and tap into this video. You know what I'm saying? I'm just chilling with the supernaturalists. That is to say, my son. You know what I'm saying? Peace to you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When we're talking about the autochthonous indigenous, we're talking about you are the proof. Alright? And this right here is a picture I was able to grab when we went up there to Sequoia. Alright? And I seen the Aniawea, who they mistakenly called the Cherokee of today. I never seen a Cherokee look like this, until I looked in the mirror. So we went up there and we was able to see, the young reflection. And so I had to grab a pic, a little still frame, because it's little treasure treats like this that keeps that DNA spark, that keeps that DNA in spiral mode, right? We're just talking 9 above the ether. Shouts out to the real one. You know what I'm saying? We just tribing up. And while tribing up, we acknowledge our Creator. We acknowledge our Hawa as the indigenous of these lands that they call America. Alright? We're just setting the mood. We're just building the vibration. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Because as you can see, the connection is never lost. But it's only underneath your feet. Alright. So with that being said, peace to the real ones. Excuse the background noise. We on daddy duty, live from daddy daycare. And it's a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying? To be in Abba, to see your bond interact with this material world right before your eyes. It's It's a Yapa vibration. So we're going to continue on. Peace to the family. I appreciate everybody tapping in. Let's get to it. Hey,
What are you doing?
Watching the sun.
Yeah? Why are you watching the sun?
I've always wondered why people say we shouldn't stare at this powerful source of energy. It made me curious.
What if you go blind?
I never heard of anyone going blind from staring at the sun.
Guess you got a point there. Have you seen anything yet?
Many things.
Like what?
See for yourself. You should turn off the phone. Welcome to the present.
peace, and that goes out to Real History www.com, or however that website would be, Real History www though. We're just digging on this changing science and the healthy 10. All right, I mean, we just got a little clip of some sun gazing. They like to call it sun bathing. You know what I'm saying? And when you actually tap in, into this way of thinking, this sort of solar activity, you know what I'm saying? There are many benefits. Okay, we just want to take the necessary time real quick to highlight that. We're looking at changing science in a healthy 10. All right. At the turn of the 20th century, the emergence of a new medical paradigm focusing on sunlight as a treatment modality for many diseases ignited a shift in sun exposure attitudes. It says the roots of the movement can be traced to Downs and Blunt, who found that direct sunlight inhibited the growth of microorganisms, and T.A. Palm, who showed that lack of sunlight was a chief cause of rickets in the 1890s. In 1903, Niels Fenson was awarded the Nobel Prize for the treatment of lupus vulgaris with UV radiation, and Robert Koch won a Nobel Prize for his work in the late 19th century, proving that sunlight killed the tubercle bacillus. I guess that's a form of tuberculosis. The excitement over this new treatment modality grew, and the first heliotherapy, as in sunlight therapy clinic for the treatment of tuberculosis, was opened in 1903. The use of sunbathing was further explored to treat other conditions such as anemia, Hodgkin's disease, chronic renal failure, syphilis, and septic wounds. All right. Eventually, this perceived benefit of sun exposure encouraged the idea of the healthy tan, as exemplified by a 1910 annotation in the Lancet that affirmed the face browned by the sun is regarded as an index of health. All right. The face browned by the sun is regarded as an index of health. All right, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? We're just talking about sunbathing, what they're referring to as sunbathing, sun gazing, you know what I'm saying? Chilling in that magnificent energy. You know, it's a form of radiation, of course. And, you know, we're just connecting the actual facts behind, you know, such a situation. I mean, with so many people, you know, potentially feeling under the weather with all these different variants, and you know what I'm saying, a lot is going on. But when you start to take, you know, something like this into mind and actually apply it to your everyday life outside of just, I'm trying to, you know, do so for the lack of being conscious or woke. But when you make this a thing for you, you know, if it's not a thing for you, you know, what all is this for? Right. And that's when you see, you know, the most of your results. So, you know, again, AHA to realhistoryww.com, for this amazing piece. We're just talking about healing tuberculosis. And, you know, for my nagas in the back of the class, did you see how it said it cured syphilis? You know what I'm saying? Syphilis. Wow. All right. So, keep this in mind as we continue to surf the wave. The face browned by the sun is regarded as an index of health. An index of health, my nigga. And shouts out to all my brown faces. You know what I'm saying? Especially those etherified by the soul. You know, what they refer to as the sun. I hope everybody's doing well out there. I hope you are doing fine. Fantastic. We're going to continue on with a pure water flow. I hope the sound is, you know, just right. If not, you know, go ahead and let me know. We'll do our best to adjust. Peace, peace. So we opened up today's feature with the true American, the face of the true American. On the contrary to what we're looking at, obviously, right now, with Noah Webster. Nonetheless, the definition of American at the time that Noah Webster, you know, jotted down this dictionary is the native of America originally, right? Originally. We can never ignore the original factor, right? That's applied to the Aboriginals or autochtons, right? The autochthonous, originally applied to the autochthonous Aboriginals or the copper color races. All right. Found here by the Europeans, but not applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. All right. But I want us to truly focus on copper colored races. Okay, as we stem, you know, on this fact. And like I said before, you know, we were digging on the true American face. Matter of fact, you know, we can get it back one time. Hold up. We're gonna get it back one time for the Trizard. So see, we're digging on the true face, right? This is the true face of the Aboriginal. All right. Make sure you get it. Make sure you get it good. Yeah. All in your face right there. All right. Which is the reason, you know, the team is no longer called the so-called Redskins, because as you can see, this logo isn't necessarily red, you know, by Crayola definition. All right. Or even expectation for that matter. But what we're looking at is a tone of red if we're looking at copper color variations. You know, this is the true form of ruddy. When we're talking ruddy, alright, we're not talking about some blood flustered cheeks, rosiness, and nah. That's that, you know, that's that deadly sauce right there. We're not talking about that. What we're speaking on is the Negus, the noble, all right, the Aboriginal. Okay, so when we're digging on the fact that the American is the copper color races, this is not just something that is being said or spewed out by a bunch of melanated freaks, as we'll see, especially as we continue to dig into these tabs like we do in these features usually. So with that being said, you know, let's focus on the copper colored races right here in this definition of American. And peace to all my cons. Excuse the boy 6, which is my pit. You know what I'm saying? If you catch him snoozing from time to time, you know, he's just doing this thing. Hey, out to the real ones, family. Let's surf the wave. All right, so here we have this word tyrosinase. All right, tyrosinase is a copper-containing enzyme that catalyzes the formation of quinones from phenols and polyphenols. All right. In other words, melanin from tyrosine. Okay, melanin, a copper-containing enzyme. Tyrosinase is an oxidase that is the rate-limiting enzyme for controlling the production of melanin. All right. Tyrosinase. Okay, which is a copper-containing enzyme. A copper-containing enzyme. So when we're digging on the copper color races, okay, we're talking about that which is of melanin, of course. Okay, and that's what we always been talking about when it comes to the definition of the ancient American. Okay, and when we know scientific terms and how to break it down, right, we get the proof in the pudding. Because we're just talking copper color once again, right? We're just talking copper color. All right. So peace to the real ones. We're going to continue. So the fact that the tyrosinase is the melanin, right? And the controlling and production of it. All right. Which is copper color. The same way of the definition. When we're keying in on melanin, as soon as you put it in, all right, this is what we're talking about. Immediately. So when we're really talking about the true American, the original American, you know, the archaic, you know, we're going to get into these different terms because this is where they, you know, they lose the average person in such a thing, right? And here we're just talking about, you already know, melanin, which is a natural skin pigment, you know what I mean? So peace and love to the natural ones, to the rare breeds. You know what I'm saying? Peace to the rare breeds. Because it's a rarity for you to be choosing up with your creator. You know what I'm saying? So Hawa, and that is the great spirit, your Amma, your Abba. Peace. We're just talking about melanin, right? And as the source of such, is a primordial source. And as the Aboriginal, right? As the Aboriginal, the copper colored Aboriginals that were found here, Let's highlight that. The copper-colored Aboriginals that were found here, we're just talking about primordial beings, being or pertaining to the source. The source is who? Hawa, the creator, your great spirit, your great breath, the Hawa that has been with you since the beginning. You have been a part of the source being the spark. The spark is the charge, the first of all. Original, the first of all, the original, a beginning, the origin, the commencement, the prime, the first to begin. You come from order, that is Hawa's order, the first in order, the earliest, existing from the beginning. We're just talking about you. We're just talking about you. Noble Negus. The original cons, my spiraling above the 9 Nagas. You know what I'm saying? We just talking about you. Peace to the real ones. Hope everything, is on point. I hope the sound is excellent. I feel excellent. We're off to an excellent start. We're just talking about primordial. That is the beginning pertaining to the source. That is Hawa. We're talking about Aboriginal copper-colored races. And to not get it twisted, we're just building on tyrosinase, which is the copper-containing enzyme that controls melanin. And melanin, comes in many variations, as we can see. Many variations. Alright. But we're talking about those who were let's get it back, right? The face browned by the sun is regarded as an index of health. So you are rich in health, which is why, your land is, the riches of Amma. Amma's riches, the motherland itself. All right. America is the motherland within the very name, the richest land, right? Your rich mom, your Amma, you come from the land, right? That is your mom to be born, pushed out, birth pain. All right. So peace to the real ones. We're just in a pure water flow. We talking about melanin, all right, which is a primordial factor. That which is attached to the source from the beginning. All right. So with that said, we're going to carry on to the next one. Let's get it. So digging on origins and speaking on origins, discussing the primordial factor, you being something, that's been around since the beginning. This term Neolithic, right, which is a period of the final division of the Stone Age, the latter part, normally categorized for, the other side of the plane, more so what they refer to high and hijack definition as the old world. It's a form of tracing time. This is how they track, human habitation based off what was left behind according to structure and usage of tools. Okay. And I wanted to bring you down because we want to dig on the term, right? And it says the term Neolithic is modern, okay? And it is based off the term new stone, literally meaning new stone age. So it is the new stone age. All right. Now you might be wondering, damn, Nat, like, how'd you go from the primordial to the new stone age? Well, this is exactly the contrast because, when listening to other, stations, podcasts, channels, whatever, it seems to be that people claim to do research on such a topic, like Darwinism or evolution to understand or, understand, fully grasp what's being said and the meaning behind Darwinism. And the correlation, seems to be that the monkey in the situation is being referred to, as the so-called Negro. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that 100%. But where we need to make the distinction is the fact that 9 times out of 10, when things are, I will say, projected, right, as so-called human beings, as we will, tap into later, ideologies are normally projected by those who are in power. Okay. And we're talking about a switching of power. All right. A switching of power. And those who are in power tend to dictate the flow that, designs the matrix that is. And so we say that because they, incorporate their terms. And, a part of this is this new Stone Age, this separation between what is modern and what is not. And this Neanderthal is a part of this modern terminology, making you the original, what they refer to as the archaic. All right. And then they turn around and say that as a Neanderthal, their genes are pulling from an archaic source. And yet through an admixture of whatever later came to, develop the modern human. All right. But this whole ordeal, as far as the evolution, the whole involving of the ape and of the such, there's a little bit of truth to that as well. So them stating the fact that, out of a monkey came a man isn't a stretch by comparison, if you take the Negro out of it. Fuck the fact that they told you you were a monkey. I mean, when the last time I checked, a monkey had a tail. A monkey was not an ape. You know what I'm saying? They say they came from a chimp, an ape. That's not a monkey. All right. And, the knuckle dragging ape is something that was definitely, something that can be described as a memory for them. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, you know what I'm saying? All these terms is something that can be associated to them. Especially when we're talking about Neolithic. So a lot of folks tend to say that, I got the story. I understand, what they're really saying is that the ape is the black man, the monkey is the black man. And by way of projection, because this is how psychology works, right? They project their way of thinking onto you because they're the one that's in power. So, a projection from their sort, let me see. See, all of these are a way of comparison to different, like I said, land masses that are of the old world factor. Right. But when you get down to right here, because, we're talking about the Americas. it says in Mesoamerica, a similar set of events occurred by around 4500 BC, but possibly as early as 11,000 to 10,000 BC. All right. It says these cultures are usually not referred to as belonging to Neolithic. Now, why would these cultures not usually be referred to as belonging to Neolithic if we're talking about the old world? See, again, the projection, by way of those who try to manipulate the psychology, are telling you that America is the new world, right? But its cultures are not referred to or belonging to the dating period known as the New Stone Age. It says in America, different terms are used, such as the formative stage instead of the mid-late Neolithic. The formative stage sounds a lot different than Neolithic. All right. And then they have the Archaic era instead of early Neolithic. Archaic, which is the opposite of Neolithic. Archaic, we're going to dig on. Okay, but we're talking about new. Keep in mind, all right. Keep in mind, when we scroll back up, they're telling us Neolithic means the New Stone Age. So if we're talking about that which is new, why wouldn't this Neolithic spot be applied to the Americas, which is the New World? All right. It says it's referred to as the Archaic era instead of early Neolithic, and Paleo-Indian for the preceding period. Paleo-Indian. And this is where the whole Eber connection comes into mind, because when we were digging on the language, we found out that, they found Decalogue stones that, that contained Paleo-Hebrew inscriptions in New Mexico. All right, Paleo-Hebrew. So we switched out the Indian and then threw in Hebrew, and it kind of became the same flow, ignoring the hijack and, the German influence to the whole thing. They don't find none of the evidence on that side of the earth anyway. Everything is pointing to right here. Obviously, they're calling what would be considered the early Neolithic the Archaic era when it comes to the Americas, because we're talking about Yama. Okay, so Paleo-Indian, all right, Paleo-Indian for the preceding period. The formative stage is equivalent to the Neolithic Revolution period in Europe, Asia, and Africa. In the southwestern United States, it occurred from 500 to 1200 AD. So, they went through some Stone Age shit in the future. All right. Southwestern United States went through their Stone Age somewhat in the future, which is kind of crazy. All right. When we're comparing timelines, which, it goes, to show you we wasn't operating like that on this side of the plane. All right. So, we got that pretty much. We're going to go ahead and continue to dig on the rest of these. Let's get to it. All right. So, we're digging on the Archaic period. All right. And the Archaic period refers to a time lapse that's in North America. All right, it says it's the classification of the archaeological cultures of North America, and it is referred to as the Archaic period. All right, and it is taken to last from around 8,000 to 1,000 BC in the sequence of North American pre-Columbian cultural stages. All right, and it is defined by the archaic stage of cultural development. Okay, so this is how they refer to the time lapse of North America and dealing with the cultures, that be. And when we're talking about what, once again, the Aboriginals, then, it's getting quite clear, who we're referring to and who this is actually about. Now, the thing that's really baking my noodle is the fact that they completely classify these two land masses differently, so we're looking at the archaic stage in North America, okay, and they had it going on, so they belong to this archaic stage. Now, this is the time where we normally see terms like hunter and gatherer societies. Okay, and this would fall into line with this Darwinism idea if you're in the belief that, this evolution applies to you. All right. But if you're looking at the timelines, this is when, all the pyramids are going up. And it's not just pyramids. It was all the different types of structures that was showing a high civilized society. All right. And all of these structures are going on at the same time. Look, they're telling you right here, the lower Mississippi Valley organized to build monumental earthwork mound complexes as early as 3500 BC. Okay, with building continuing over a period of 500 years. So in a so-called archaic age, hunters and gatherers are building mound complexes. You know what I'm saying? That shit is kind of, intense when you really dig on their version or definition of a hunter-gatherer. And normally hunter-gatherer societies are nomadic. They don't take the interest in building up in a particular area. And not to say that that's anything, to glorify as well, because it wasn't until after the Tower of Babel that, man became more stationary, right? Due to, the mixing of the tongues, shit was different. It became political. That's when all your politics get involved now. What car you riding with? All these things start to take place, right after that. But when we're looking at, just the timeline in general, you don't get something of an ancient period like this that cannot be replicated with technology today, to the point that, hunter and gatherer groups or nomads were picking berries and building, structures. It doesn't equate to me. So that lets me know, okay, fine. They're, alluding to a timeline where such a civilization exists. And the only thing that I keep thinking about is Lemuria or Mu, later Atlantis, right? Following the sort. And we're learning that this archaic period is applied to the American timeline. Okay, so if that's the case, we're talking about the Aboriginals. So that would make you the primordial, existing since the beginning, which is the ancient or archaic. And the hijack likes to, tie in archaic with primitive, as in primitive being, the brute, the stump, the tree trunk, the stepping stone from which the modern man of perfection arose out of. Okay. But this is not the chronology of geological timing measured in the so-called old world, nor is the new world referred to as the new world by measuring of timeline period. It is actually called the archaic period, the complete opposite of what they teach as far as the old world goes. So by comparison, we already are off to something completely different. Okay. And we're shaking off the cobwebs. So we're going to go ahead and get to the next tab and see what we can go ahead and unravel. So see, we're talking about the Watson break of Louisiana. Shouts out to Louisiana, the boot. You know what I mean? They talking about what present day Washita. So automatically, if we're talking about the archaic period, we're talking about 5,400 years ago, excuse me. We're talking about some Washita folks, right? To the Washita, we're talking about some indigenous Aboriginals, that were responsible for, building what's considered the oldest earthwork mound complex in North America. It is older than the Egyptian pyramids. It is older than the Egyptian pyramids. So if the Egyptian pyramids are, accredited to the occult of being the most highest civilization that, they recognize, how is it that over here in the new world during our archaic period as the Aboriginal copper color races, we're building mound works that predate the more civilized, finer Egypt? How is it that man leaves Africa so many years, travels to America to build pyramids and structures and complexes that, he didn't even do in his own backyard? You know what I'm saying? And this is why we deal with the autogenous vibes, because autogenous means to be sprung from the soil. So that cancels out some, parents, hominin leaving a particular part of the desert and then, populating the rest of the world while morphing into different beings and races that carry out genetics. And see, this is the thing you have to ask yourself. If this is true to a degree where, you want to throw out the fact that this monkey business is blah, 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 then how do you explain, these folks that have human traits, we now call them, that are in relation to traits that animals have? And, for instance, like fur. All right. The hair of a horse is similar to the hair of a brunette woman. Alright. And with that being said, you got to keep these things in mind, because how is that possible? All right. How is that possible? You don't change a complexion and become a lighter version just because you go into a cave and isolate yourself from said sun. I mean, to do that is basically insane. To go into a place of darkness concealed from the sun for periods of time is insanity. The absence of light will do that. You know what I'm saying? So no matter how you want to put it, it's not going to make sense. It's not going to make sense. And we're talking about Watson break. We're talking about something that's older than, the Egyptian pyramids. You don't start backwards like that. That's not the way a genius works. And then when you look at the conception, right? when you look at the conception, all right, when we're looking at the conception, this is looking like, an earthwork of a different frequency. The vibration was a bit higher, especially in understanding of the forces of nature that surround it. So with that being said, again, it makes me think about a more remote past, more remote civilization. And I don't mean to say Lemuria or Mu as a different place that's underneath your feet. No, they're one and the same. It just more lands were connected at that point, as we'll touch on and get into, to the point where, there was no separation. But that frequency was exactly the same. And it's proven because it was left behind in the old world. As you can see, we're digging on the archaic stage of Watson Break. So, hey, hi to all my real ones, to all my ninjas out there surfing and riding dragoons. It's a good night tonight. Shabbat Shalom to the tribe. Let's keep this ether going. So, I study terms and I study ideologies. And again, we're going to touch on this term projection. A lot of y'all are, enjoying the new, the latest Kanye, interview. I know y'all feeling that for sure, enjoy. It is what it is for the people, for the sheeple. But, when we pay attention to what was being said, he was using certain terms. I don't know if you can see it up here, but I see one. Looks like this, right? Egalitarian. He was talking about egalitarian. He was talking about being a nomad. And, I've heard certain perspectives from, brothers within the tribe, how, to be a nomad, to be the noble, like those of the plains, was, in the sense and still being in touch with nature, no possessions, right? No ego, no, that type of thing. And, I see that to a degree for sure. But you can't be an empire if you're a nomad, my nigga. Alright, you cannot be an empire if you're a nomad. There's no collective mind frame as a nomad. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just letting you know. You roll with the punches. Beggars can't be choosers. These are the rules that apply to hunter-gatherer society. And this is what they throw at you fresh off the bat, right? They want to throw you shit like this. They say, yeah, you know what I'm saying? This right here is it. These are your hunter and gatherers. Walking around with clubs and shit. Smacking a woman over the head, so they can co-populate. You know what I'm saying? That's the image they give you. Look at this shit. Niggas coming straight out the cave. You know what I'm saying? And then giving you the contrast right next to it. They turn around and say hunter-gatherer. You see how they blur the two? So when a nigga come out and tell you, and he projects an idea, right? Because the price is gone up. It's over your head. This is the fourth wave, man. The fourth wave. All right, this is the fourth wave. And that price is over your head, and I feel you. That shit is pressure. It's pressure. But what Nip say, I don't stress out. I don't stress out. Why? Because Hawa got us. You know what I'm saying? Hawa got us. What happened here? Okay. I don't know what that was about, but yeah. Oh, we're gonna have to get this back. But you see, these are the images that they put into your mind when we're talking about being nomads, all right? When we're talking about hunter-gatherer societies. All right, this ain't no joke. So, keep in mind, everything is on time and according to a plan when it comes to these things. Okay. We're just talking about projections. All this ties in together, which is why I'm bringing it up. So we're going to see what's up with this tab. We kind of got ahead of ourselves right there, but we're going to flow into it. Hopefully it'll let us get to it. Peace. See you in a few. So I guess this link popped open from us clicking on that picture. So I didn't really have any intentions on building on it, but I'm going to read this quick headline. It says, ancient men were hunters and women were gatherers. Right? Wrong. Alright, it says archaeological evidence from Peru disproves an old belief. So notice how they're calling them ancient men and women. Ancient. Alright, ancient. Alright, now they're gonna kind of go off into a different tangent. I wasn't necessarily in that frequency in that build, but I want to let you know we're talking about the Americans. Right, we're talking about Peru. And that's you. We're talking about archaeological evidence proving that these are ancient people. Right, we're just talking about you. So we're going to continue again, you know what I'm saying? Next tab, we just have to highlight this one real quick. Let's go.
The first 98% of humanity's history is virtually unrecorded. Known as prehistory or the Stone Age, most of what we know is not from written accounts, but from the tools our ancestors used to survive. Our ancestors recorded very little of their existence during prehistory. Writing simply didn't exist as we know it today. We call this period the Stone Age because many of the tools from that time were made from stone, but they were also made from flint, bone, and antler. These tools are one of the few things, besides some fossils, that have survived the 700,000 years since humankind fashioned its first axe and flint. The Stone Age is divided into three periods: the Paleolithic period, the Mesolithic period, and the Neolithic period. Each of these periods is based on the sophistication of the tools our ancestors made. During the Paleolithic period, they made very simple tools. By the end of the Neolithic period, tools and their usage had become more complex and specialized. The Paleolithic period is also known as the Old Stone Age. No one's really sure just how long this period lasted, but archaeologists have theorized people used simple tools as early as 700,000 years ago. During this period, people survived as hunter-gatherers, hunting wild game and supplementing their diets with gathered wild berries, nuts, and fruits. Animals eaten for food were also used for tools, for clothing, and for shelter. No part of the animal went unused. Populations were small and scattered. Some archaeologists believe there were no more than 1 million people worldwide at any one time during the Old Stone Age. If this seems like a lot of people, compare it to our current world population of 7 billion. People stayed in small groups and hunted, gathered, and lived together.
Fisher hunter-gatherers in the Middle Archaic period in Louisiana have built a large enclosure containing 11 earthen mounds connected by ridges. These Fisher hunter-gatherers were part of the Evans culture who lived in the area from between 6000 BCE until 2000 BCE. The locations of these earthen mounds is in northeast Louisiana and the site is called Watson Break. Long thought to have been a part of the later Poverty Point culture, it wasn't until the 1990s that the remarkable antiquity of Watson Break was recognized. Older than the pyramids of Egypt and older than Stonehenge, this unique site is contemporary to Newgrange in Northern Ireland. My name's Kaylee and today we're going to look into the Watson Break Mounds, which is unique because it's amongst the oldest and most complex mound sites in North America. Overlooking the swampy floodplain of the Watson Bayou on the edge of the Deweyville Terrace, about 1 mile west of the Washita River, are the Watson Break Mounds. As this was the ideal location with access to both upland and lowland resources. The Watson Break stream was a clearer and faster stream than the Washita River. Since the creation of the mounds, the Washita River has shifted approximately 500 meters eastwards.
Alright, so you see what I see? You see the copper color races? Alright, and we're talking about Washita and everything that we know as far as the Washita goes. Alright, and just the fact that these pieces, this structure is older than Egypt, than Stonehenge. Alright, and we're looking at how it could have potentially looked. I mean, look at this. Alright, this is not something you do as a hunter and gatherer society. Alright, this is sophistication, man. You know, not to even harp on the word civilization, because that's an ugly ass term. But, you know, we were on some, you know, advanced shit. And this is coming from that connection, that practice from the old lands. You know what I mean? When it was, you know, formed in one. That's an ancient vibration. And these people just brought it with them. Because this was the practice of memory retention. All right. So I just want to get that in, you know, peace to the young videos. It's always good to get a visual introduction, or an example, I should say, rather. And, you know, it's great to see that we're talking about the Washita. So we're going to carry on to the next one. Peace. All right. So here we're digging on the histories of the Americas. All right. And it says the prehistory of the Americas, North, South, Central, and the Caribbean begins with people migrating from these areas from Asia during the height of an ice age. All right, so you dodged that hijack straight out the gate. But basically what I wanted to read, and the whole point of this, it says, these groups are generally believed to have been isolated from the people of the old world until the coming of Europeans in the 10th century. Isolated. And, you know, that's that term we was digging on before, because how's this shit isolated, right? And literally by ice. Like, this shit was blocked off by ice, which is why they refer to it as the Ice Age. You know, no one can get through here. All right. And, you know, just to line it up with everything that we've been talking about, it says cultures that may be considered advanced or civilized. Okay, include the Norte Chico, the Cahokia, the Zapotec, Toltec, Olmec, Maya, Aztec, Timor, Mixtec, Moshe, the Mississippian, the Puebloan, the Totonac, the Teotihuacan, the Huastec people, the Purapucha, the Isapa, the Mazatec, the Muisca, and the Inca. All right, all of these were considered advanced. And now that's what I'm talking about, because this shit's in Wikipedia just in plain terms. You know what I mean? I'm not even trying. And it's lining up with the pure water, you know, we're sharing with each other right now. And, you know, that's why I like to do these builds, because when it's cohesive like this and you don't have to force anything, that's how you know Hawa, you know, got a little sprinkling going on, a little seasoning cracking. All right. And, it says the ancestors of today's American indigenous peoples were the Paleo Indians. The Paleo, again, is ancient, archaic. You heard how, you know, she broke it down. It's the old, the ancient, the most ancient, the Aboriginal. You know what I'm saying? This is what they highlighted. All right. And keep in mind, you know, I'm starting to see that it says this landmass covered by the ocean's waters of the Bering Strait. This is This right here is the Lemuria that I'm talking about. You know, that is the Lemuria that I'm talking about. And this shit is going way back. I mean, we talking way, way, way back. All right, like shit's getting out of hand. You know, so much so that this is why the Most High had us, isolated. Because we're talking about the copper colored races who were the Aboriginals. And this tyrosinase, right? This tyrosinase is the copper containing enzyme that controls the production of melanin. All right? It controls the production of melanin. And when we talking about melanin, you know what I'm saying? This is what we getting without trying. I mean, straight up. Right? Straight up. So we can't take nothing else when we're talking about the description of the Aboriginal that was isolated from the people of the old world. Even though we're the ones referred to as Paleo Indians, niggas, you stupid. How do you get Paleo Indians? You don't get old Indians in the New World. Shout out to Five Eyes Ma, because we been old. I'm having fun right now, in case y'all can't tell, man. Peace, peace. Let's keep it going. We have the Pleistocene. Okay, the Pleistocene is often referred to as the Ice Age and is the geological epoch that lasted from about 2,580,000 years to about 11,700 years ago. Okay, spanning the Earth's most recent period of repeated glaciations. All right. It says the end of the Pleistocene corresponds with the end of the last glacial period and also with the end of the Paleolithic age used in archaeology. The name is a combination of ancient Greek, which is most, and another combination of the word new. So it is the most new. Now notice how Pleistocene, right? Pleistocene means the most new, right? The most new. And when we were digging on Neolithic being New Stone Age. Neolithic being New Stone Age. So you got New Stone Age and you got Most New Ice Age. Okay? And what I'm getting from this is the fact that this is the period where the Neanderthal, or the new man, as Neanderthal means, it means the new man, modern man, as in he's fresh, right? His creation is fresh. This is the freshest nigga off the block right now. All right? Like for real. Like fresh as in fresh out the oven. This motherfucker's fresh. Has no time put into this realm. All right, they're the most recent. Okay, it says at the end of the preceding Pliocene, the previously isolated North and South American continents. Isolated. Here goes this word again. Isolated. Okay, so we were isolated. Okay, we keep telling you, isolated. Okay. And it brought it into the Paleolithic age. The Paleolithic. We're talking about where the Paleo Indians come from. So how do you have Paleo Indians in a new world? And then we're isolated. Okay. Then it says right here, okay, the archaic humans of the genus Homo originated in Africa. All right, so when we skip the hijack, let's pay attention to the fact that they're talking about archaic humans. Okay, remember that term I told you to follow, archaic. You know, we were digging on primordial earlier. All right, I'm telling you to keep in the term archaic in mind. All right, because we're talking about that Lemuria. We're gonna get to it. Matter of fact, let's go. Hey, hop to the real ones. Peace. Matter of fact, we just talking about you. Because if we talking about the Aboriginal, right? If we're talking about the Aboriginal American, we're talking about the primordial one that was here since the beginning, which is pertaining to the source. And if we're talking about that melanin, then we definitely talking about the proof. The proof of what? Of the antediluvian civilization. All right, and that is the pre-flood. Okay, there has always been something that has fascinated me about a pre-flood antediluvian civilization. All right. It says, if we can assume that there actually was a genuine deluge at some point, and there have been a number of studies into creation myths from disparate cultures that seem to suggest there was one, the Babylonian flood story is believed to be the basis for Noah and the ark. All right. And for those that think they know the facts, Noah's ark was built right here in Florida because gopher wood is indigenous right here to Florida. So there is no turkey and none of that shit as far as, validation of a term named Noah or anything like that, of the ark or anything like that being of a Middle Eastern origin, when we know that gopher wood, the wood that was used to build the ark, is right here in Florida, man. I did a video on it. Go check the channel. You know what I'm saying? We broke this information wide when we first got wind of it. You know what I'm saying? Peace to everybody else that's been tapped into this truth too, to wake up. We're talking about the old world, Aman. We're talking about your rich, Aman. This gopher wood was so amazing that they built the ships, the most, up-to-date naval ships and, things of that sort when it comes to, nautical travel. They used this gopher wood to the point where the trees now basically extinct. That's how much they used it up. All right. But this gopher wood is right here in America, in America. Okay. And this is another reason why we're able to match that Eber flow. That Eber flow is your feather. That feather is Eber, the root name to Hebrew. And we just combine this with the indigenous flow and you get something you never seen before. And your scriptures become activated right before your eyes, because we're talking about a severed people. And that severed connection from the creator, your Amma, your Abba. All right. That is the framer and shaper, like the ancient Quiche would say. The ancient Quiche, we talking about what they refer to as your Maya. It says the idea that there was a civilization that predated the human race that died out 1 million years ago before us, and all its landmarks and monuments were erased from the face of the earth by the elements, and thousands of gallons of water, was quite appealing as a theme for the book. I didn't want to go down some kind of Atlantis narrative, nor a Lovecraftian Cthulhu reboot. Even the flood element wasn't really right for what I'm thinking of. All right. An ice age has the same kind of effect as the flood. They cleansed the world, albeit at a far slower pace than the 40 days and 40 nights, but still I like their scale. 650 million years of snow and ice gives you a suitably big enough barrier for any time traveler to call a wilderness, especially when relics and artifacts from pre-ice age are either non-existent or buried undertones of rock. All right. The end of the last ice age became the 0 point in the Oblivion Order's Hasseline calendar. Okay, so pay attention to that point, and we'll touch on it a little later on. But the 0 point, okay, the 0 point. Okay. And we're talking about antediluvian people. And that's what your melanin represents. Okay, your melanin makes you the primordial, that which is pertaining to the source or the beginning. All right. Now you see how we did that. This is how we're able to merge the indigenous truth with our scripts. But not everybody can do this. This is just for, the few. Because not everybody's going to see the pure water like that. You know what I'm saying? No matter how hard you study, no matter how hard you think you can copy another author or a publisher or a content creator, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be regurgitated shit over and over and over and over and over. But you come back right here to this channel and you kind of get the same facts, but presented to you in a refreshed package, because it enhances as we spiral our DNA 9 ether out the barrier. You know what I'm saying? Peace to my loved ones, man. I hope y'all doing good out there. I hope everybody's straight. I'm feeling lovely. We're going to go ahead and continue. Peace, peace. Now we're digging on the term earth right here in the etymology. And, I just want to point out the fact that, simply put, we're talking about the ground, the soil, the dirt, the dry land. All right. Straight up, the abode of man, the material world. All right. The material world. Keep this in mind, the material world. All right. We're just talking about you, the material world, the ground, the earth. The earth. All right, that which is up under your feet right about now. Okay, and here we have a autochthon, one that sprung from the soil, one that sprung from the earth, literally sprung from the land itself. Aborigines, native, all right, primitive inhabitants. All right, switch out primitive, you know what I'm saying? Fuck that word, and you throw in primordial inhabitants. Alright, you see why I speak like this now? You know what I'm saying? Primordial inhabitants as autochtons. Those that are literally sprung from the land itself. So when we're talking about aboriginals, we're really talking about autochtons, those sprung from the soil itself. We're talking about tyrosinase. Right? We're talking about melanin. We're talking about you as the original autochthon of America, the copper colored races that literally sprung from the land itself. You were isolated. That's what it said, right? You were isolated. Let's keep this water pure and flowing. Now we're digging on archaic. I told you to pay attention to this term, archaic, right? Because archaic is ancient. They're calling you ancient, my nigga, straight in your face bone. Old-fashioned paleo, old-fashioned antiquated, all right, antiquated, primitive, the beginning, the origin. You are the origin, archaic. You see what they're calling you? Archaic human. To be the first, you're the first human to begin, to rule, my nigga. Can you see it? To rule. All right, to rule, archaic. We're talking about you, to be the first, hence to begin. We got here from a beautiful build, right? Because we're talking about primordial, to begin, being, right? Being or pertaining to the source or beginning. The first of all, original. Archaic, to be the first, archaic. Alright, fuck primitive. You're primordial. Toss out that primitive term. Primordial, archaic. To be the first, to begin, to rule. Okay, we're digging on the next one. Archon. Okay, it says the archaic come from the archon. See, archon, right? Archon. What is an archon? One of the 9 chief magistrates of ancient Athens, right? A ruler, a commander, chief captain, to be first, thence to begin, to be first, to rule, to make preparation, to rule over, to be a leader of, or the archons, You know what I'm saying? We just talking about the Elohim, right? The Elohim, archons. Did you see what happened there? The archons gave rise to the archaic, and this is the angelic connection that I'm talking about. This cosmic ether. Archon. You see what's going on? One of the nine chief. One of the 9 chiefs. Shouts out to the cons. Shouts out to the chiefs. Peace to the tribe. Peace to the tribes. If you know, you know. It's a beautiful flow right about now. We're just digging on Archon, man. We're talking about archaic, right? Because here we have modern, which means now existing, right? Now existing to the measure, manner and measure, right? To take appropriate measures. And that's exactly what they're doing, right? The modern people. Those who are new, modern, right? This is that Neolithic shit. New Stone Age, right? This is the Pleistocene. New, the most new, modern, right? Modern, most recent time, present or pertaining to most recent times. So modern man is most recent times of present. He's not archaic. He's not aboriginal or primordial. He's not pertaining to the source or the beginning. He's a new man. And this new man has no connection to the creator. Unless they are of the rare breeds. Peace, and shouts out to the rare breeds. To everybody in the section watching that's a rare breed. A-ha to you for standing up and choosing Hawa. Alright? It is opposed to ancient. Opposed. Meaning not antiquated. Alright? Which is exactly what we got for archaic. Alright? So that's the distinction. This is when this pale face came into play. Right here during this new ice age, new stone age time. And he became modern, the now existing. I hope you see what's going on, because it's happening right in your face. Like I told you over here at the Naturalist, I can teach you how to be Neo, but only you can lose the fear and let go. If you want to fly, let's go. We're on to the next one. Peace. Now we got this tab in previous drops, so I'm not gonna really dig on it. I just want to highlight the fact that new evidence puts man in North America some 50,000 years ago. Right? And of course we're just talking about South Carolina, where Albert Perry's from. Right? Albert Perry is from over here in this area, and a man by the name of Albert Goodyear. So it's funny, these Alberts over here in South Carolina is getting it cracking. Alright. It said that Dr. Goodyear indicated that the sediments containing these artifacts are at least 50,000 years old, meaning that humans inhabited North America long before the last ice age. Those humans would be archaic, right? Archaic. Ancient ones. Right? And that's not who they're referring to. That's not even who they're talking about. Because the Neanderthal is the new man. He's the modern man. Right? This is the one that came across the ice, because only the modern man is going to travel through ice. The archaic man is going to travel by way of the sun. All right? This modern man, he's going to walk through the ice. Okay? Robert Perry's DNA is proving that, his shit goes back 300,000 years. You know what I'm saying? The Naga has always been. And we gonna prove it. We gonna show you. Okay, so keep in mind, we just been digging on what? Archaic, right? Now, you mean to tell me that because we're digging on archaic, all of a sudden the flow is just supposed to connect and be pure water because it's natural by law? Narrating? I think not. But Hawa makes the mysterious less mysterious, right? So when we continue to the next tab, we get what really is the archaic Homo sapiens. All right, and when I scroll down, I mean, look at what you get. You know what I'm saying? I cannot make this up. You know, give or take, we dodge the eyebrow ridge. You know what I'm saying? We shake the eyebrows. But, I mean, this is who we talking about. All right. Archaic. What is the archaic Homo sapiens, or more commonly, relatively consensus name, archaic humans or Middle Pleistocene homos in a more paleoanthropological way? Did they resemble Homo sapiens? All right. Now it says Homo erectus through over 1200 cc brain capacity. By the period of time Homo sapiens appeared around 300,000 years ago. So this shit is going back to Albert Perry once again, because this is his mark. All right. This is his mark. The only problem is that the archaic, you know what I mean, that they want to refer to, they want to tie in the Neanderthal as something ancient that has no ancient DNA, because the Neanderthal is the modern man. So this archaic Homo sapien is really you. It's really the Aboriginal American, who is the primordial. All right. You know what I'm saying? You're from the archaic period. We talking about you. You know what I'm saying? We talking about you. We cannot make this up, man. We cannot make this up. Alright, so shouts out to everybody tapped in. We definitely gonna keep this build going. Alright, we definitely gonna keep this build going. So with that said, let's get to it. Peace. In the beginning, Hawa created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of Hawa moved upon the face of the waters. And Hawa said, let there be light. And there was light. And Hawa saw that the light was good. And Hawa divided the light from the darkness. And Hawa called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And Hawa said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. All right. And Hawa made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And Hawa called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And Hawa said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and so let the dry land appear, and it was so. And Hawa called the dry land earth. All right, so Hawa called the dry land earth. Now, what did Hawa do with this earth? All right. What did he do with this earth? It says, in the gathering of the waters he called the seas, and Hawa saw that it was good. And Hawa said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. All right. And the earth brought forth the grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after its kind. All right. So Hawa said, let the dry land be called earth, right? So we're going to jump ahead to chapter 2. And we're going to jump down to verse 4. It says, These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created in the day that Hawa made the earth and the heavens. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For Hawa had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. All right. But then there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground and the earth. Keep this in mind. Okay. And Hawa formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. All right. And man became a hidden soul. All right. A living soul, excuse me. A living soul. But Hawa formed man of the dust which was of the earth. He formed the earth. He called the dry land earth. Okay. And then formed man out of that dust and breathed into his nostrils. Breathe. To puff, right? To blow hard, to scatter, to blow, to breathe, to cause, to lose life. Seething snuff, okay? To blow. The breath. The breath is a puff. That is wind. Okay? Angry or vital breath, divine inspiration, intellect, or concretely an animal, a blast. The breath. So the breath is one with the intellect. Now, I know that was deep. The breath is one with the intellect. Okay? Wind. And keep in mind, he formed man out of the ground. Why is that important? Because when we go to a Toctron, right, a Toctonist, we have one sprung from the soil. The soil is the dust, right? Let's go back. Let's check the script, right? Dust. Let's get it. Dust. Dust is the earth, the ground, the clay, the earth, the mud, the soil. All right. All right. Formed man from this soil and gave him wind, or the breath of intellect, the spark, the wick, the flame, the ether. All right. You got me? You following me? We synced up. This ain't no church. This ain't no religious school. You gonna get all the drop when you right here with the supernaturalists. Peace to real ones. Let's get it. All right. So here we got the etymology to wind. Wind is just air in motion. Air. Okay. We're talking about to blow. The blowing is just air in motion. Or, as you can see down here, wind is actually breath. So what the fuck are we talking about now? Now we're talking about the element of air, the air. So the air is within you, right? But if you remember that drop we got of the ether is the highest pure air. So you see what we're talking about? I'm proving it. I'm showing you right now. All right. I'm showing you right now what the creator has manifested in you. All right. Shout out to all the super Indians out there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all the super Indians out there. Okay, so, I mean, we're talking about wind. We're talking about the breath. We're talking about the air that's in motion. Okay, so keep all of these things in mind, especially from the, the read we just got out here in Genesis. We're going to get these presentations like we always do. Let's get it cracking.
We're at the Memphis Botanic Garden. We're in front of this water oak. It's a huge water oak. And we're going to learn about tree physiology.
Yes.
This is the question we usually get. What is photosynthesis, though? How does that work?
photosynthesis is where the tree's leaves absorb the sunlight and produces carbohydrates and sugars and provides the energy and the food for the tree.
So it's all about energy and food for the tree.
It's all about energy and food.
Okay. Now, it's been hot here lately.
Yes.
What about...
Keep in mind, the script said that the trees and the earth and the plants and all that was here before man. Right? It was here before man. Okay, so, you know, on your own, you can rewind it and bring this back, you know, the beginning, the first 32 seconds, and get all the drop that they just shared, and then see how that's in harmony and in order with how you also process your body, your being. Peace.
Respiration, though.
Respiration is the process where the tree uses that energy that's produced by the leaves. But when it gets over 92, 93 degrees, the trees have cells that shut down the process of that photosynthesis that helps that tree maintain and retain the energy that has been already produced by the leaves.
Okay, which is really important because it has been above the 92, 93 degrees.
Yes.
All right. Now let's talk about the different layers of the tree. Let's talk about the xylem and the phloem. So let's start with the xylem.
Okay, the xylem works like with osmosis, and that is on the interior part of the cambium. And it pulls the water and the minerals from the soil, takes it up through the tree, all the way up to the tips of the leaves. It goes through the transpiration process where that moisture or water is released through the pores of the leaf.
Okay. And what about the phloem?
The phloem tissue is the vascular section of the tree that takes that energy that's produced by the leaves and pulls it out through the tree and disperses it throughout the tree's parts.
Okay. So that flows in both directions?
Flows in two directions.
Okay.
Yes. Or three.
Or three?
Yes. You have the rays of the wood, which run from the interior part of the tree outwards to where the sapwood is, and that carries the nutrients radially to the sapwood. Here we have, Chris, a slab of wood. This is a piece of red oak, and just to describe some of the physiological aspects of this piece of wood or this red oak, we have the vascular tissue is.
Notice how the oak or the wood is red, just like that original Aboriginal we showed in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Made up of 4 different parts, or more actually, but to simplify it. The bark, phloem, cambium, and xylem tissue. Phloem to the outside, the cambium in the center, the xylem to the inside.
Okay.
The bark is to protect all the other vascular tissue.
All right.
The phloem tissue is what brings the nutrients throughout the tree and disperses it from the leaves. Then the cambium produces both the phloem and the xylem tissue as it grows, and the xylem tissue brings the nutrients up from the root system up throughout the tree.
Okay.
Now, the rays that you see, the small lines right here running through there, those are your rays. Yes, they're very pronounced, especially when the wood is dried up some.
Okay.
And these are your growth rings. So as the tree grows, it produces an annual growth ring, early wood and late wood. Now, the rays transports nutrients into the sapwood area, which is out here. Now, the unique thing about this functioning tissue is all this wood that you see in here is non-conductive. It's just there for the support that I had mentioned earlier. Your productive and conductive tissue, or phloem and xylem tissue, is only on the outermost part of the tree. Right there. That's why a tree can be hollow and still function, just like a solid tree.
Okay.
And then, of course, you'll have places where insects will live in there, and the tree will compartmentalize over that.
Right.
But all through here, you have the cells that divide. When a tree gets wounded like that, the cells, the parenchyma cells, will divide and create new tissue and compartmentalize over the wound. That's how all this functions. That xylem tissue has the parenchyma cells that do that division.
Pretty good.
That's how trees heal. When a tree gets...
And see, that's a lot like your skin, the way your skin work. You know what I'm saying? You learn a lot by how you work, how your body work, by observing other organisms, other life forms. And this is just a tree. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, man, y'all got to start talking to these trees. Y'all got to get y'all reps up with these trees. You know what I'm saying? These trees should be knowing your name, and you should know the name of at least 3 trees. You know what I'm saying? And get acquainted with them. You know, have conversations. Ask them, you know, about the land, which you know, places have medicines, what are beneficial. It'll lead you in the right direction. People ask me, oh, you know, how do you hear a tree talk? You just listen to the wind. The trees give off the wind, the air. They purify the air. And when you get that breeze that hits you in the face, listen to it. All right? We're going to get it. Peace.
It's wounded. The wound is permanent. When we, like, cut ourselves, we heal. But it's the same cell system that heals both our cut on our hand and the wound on the tree. It's the parenchyma cells. And it's closely related to how our bodies function. It's a living organism.
Now let's talk about the roots, though. What do we need to know about the roots of the tree?
Roots are very important. However, a tree can these trees that blow over, a tree can survive without having a complete set of roots because of the energy that the leaves can produce for it. Okay. So the roots function as anchorage to the ground, storage for what's produced by the leaves, and just anchored. Okay.
And that goes to say, shout out to the bro, getting to the root of it all. You know what I'm saying? To the root. We just getting to the root. I mean, we are talking about the root races. Yeah. Shouts out to the bro, man, Ahab, and, you know, Love. You know, we're seeing how the function of the tree is really close to the functioning of the body of the human. You know, and these are things that, you know, we really overlook. But the simplicity of the script reminds us. It reminds me. So I'm sharing this reminder with you. On to the next one. We're going. Peace, peace. Alright, so the first video we was digging on, you know, tree and a correlation. This one is going to be about some soil. So let's see what we get. Peace.
SciShow Kids is made in partnership with our friends at Soil Cycle. Hey everyone, Squeaks and I just got back from our nature walk, and it's time to record our observations. Okay, so what did we see today? Oh, some oak trees. I bet those grew from the acorns we see by the woods. What else? Ooh, some blackbirds. Remember when they had just hatched earlier this year? Okay, what next? Oh yeah, all those seeds we planted earlier this spring have grown into beautiful flowers. Our garden has such good soil, or what you sometimes hear called dirt. The good soil really made a great place for those little seeds to grow. Okay, what else, Squeaks? Oh, what are you thinking about? Oh, that's such a great question. Squeaks was just asking where soil comes from. On our walk, we saw plants that...
Soil. Where does soil come from? If Hawa took the soil, the dust, and formed man out of the soil and the dust, what is soil? What are we talking about? What is soil? What is this dust? What is this dirt? What are these particles? Let's go.
It came from seeds and birds that came from eggs. So what about soil? Well, soil comes from a few places, and it's made all the time outside, just by everyday things happening in nature. Soil is mostly made of tiny bits of rock. Over hundreds or even thousands of years, big rocks are slowly broken into smaller pieces. And there are a few ways that can happen. For example, this can happen as waves from a stream or an ocean hit rocks, or as strong winds blow on them. When that happens, the wind or water slowly breaks off tiny bits of rock.
The wind or water, you hear that? The wind. Now, we were just talking about the breath. Now, how is it that we're starting to capture the creation pattern of man right before us just by paying attention to the terminology she's using and the terminology that was used in the video before and comparing them to who? None other than the primordial autochthon, which is you, the Aboriginal American. Let's get that back. We're talking about the wind, right? This is amazing. I mean, that's a beautiful flow right there.
Or an ocean hit rocks, or as strong winds blow on them. When that happens, the wind or water slowly breaks off tiny bits of rock and sweeps them away. Or sometimes rocks are trapped under lots of other heavy rocks. And if the rocks on top shift or scrape against the rocks on the bottom, that can break the rocks on the bottom into smaller pieces too. Rain can even get into holes in rocks and freeze there in the winter. And then the ice can slowly crack rocks wide open. No matter how it happens, when rocks are broken into pieces like this, we call it weathering. And even plants and animals can weather rocks. Roots can split rocks as plants grow. And digging animals like moles can scratch up rocks as they burrow around them. Now, Squeaks, you know there are all different kinds of rocks, right? They come in all different colors and textures. Do you think that they all make the same kind of soil? You're right. Different kinds of rocks make different kinds of soil. Rocks like quartz are really hard, so they take a long time to weather. And when they do, they make hard, grainy soils like sand. Other rocks, like shale, are a little easier to break. So shale, for example, weathers into really teeny tiny pieces and makes thick, softer soils like clay. Soil isn't just rocks, though. It also contains living things and pieces of things that used to be alive. Things like dead leaves, bits of old logs and plant stems, even old bones and fur that have broken down over many months or years. They're all part of soil. Scientists call...
So, if they're all parts of soil, that means the process of your creation it took time, my nigga. Like, this took time. Like, you were a project that literally needed time investing. Okay, so rushing that process in a day, I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? 6,000 years to the earth, I don't necessarily see it. Especially if we're talking about the fundamental of the soil and how long it takes for it to process. And again, we talking about this organic matter, right? We spoke on it a little bit earlier. Peace.
Soil isn't just rocks, though. It also contains living things and pieces of things that used to be alive. Things like dead leaves, bits of old logs and plant stems, even old bones and fur that have broken down over many months or years. They're all part of soil. Scientists call these pieces of plants, animals, and fungi organic matter, and it's full of nutrients, the stuff that plants need to survive. Some soil is full of organic matter, so it's really good for growing plants. Other soil doesn't have as much. Oh, good question. How can you tell which soils have a lot of organic matter? Well, organic matter is dark black, so you can guess how much organic matter is in soil by looking at how dark in color it is. The close...
What? You can tell how much organic material is in the soil by looking at how dark it is? We cannot make this shit up. We cannot make this up. We can't make this up. You see what I'm saying? We're talking about archaic. We're talking about you, the ancient one. You know what I'm saying? But please keep in mind that the Neanderthal has no connection to that which is ancient. It was borrowed, but it has no connection to that which is ancient. Alright? Because the darker you are, the more organic life you have. That's what this lady just said. Right? Let's get this back. Let's go, man. We not playing with y'all. Let's get it.
Some soil is full of organic matter, so it's really good for growing plants. Other soil doesn't have as much. Oh, good question. How can you tell which soils have a lot of organic matter? Well, organic matter is dark black, so you can guess how much organic matter is in soil by looking at how dark in color it is. The closer it is to black, the more organic material is in it. Oh, good.
One more again. And after that, we're going to rock out.
Oh, good question. How can you tell which soils have a lot of organic matter? Well, organic matter is dark black. So you can guess how much organic matter is in soil by looking at how dark in color it is. The closer it is to black, the more organic material is in it. Oh, good eye! The soil in our garden is really dark. Good black soil has a bunch of organic matter in it, so it's great for growing flowers. Soil is made out in nature every day, but it does take a very long time. The soil you see outside was made over many years, around 100 years for just the top layer of soil. And every day, rocks and organic matter are changing just a little bit, slowly.
It takes over 100 years just for the top of the soil. Just for the top of the soil, 100 years. You see what I'm saying? It take 100 years. And you think that, this shit just happened in just a flash? My nigga, for real? For real? Oh, man. I'm feeling the classroom right about now. Peace to the real ones.
A very long time. The soil you see outside was made over many years, around 100 years for just the top layer of soil. And every day, rocks and organic matter are changing just a little bit, slowly turning into more and more soil. Ooh, maybe we can see how things change as we take more nature walks. That sounds fun. We'll have to take...
Alright, and that's gonna be it for this little segment. We're gonna get to the next one. Hey,
Smile and learn.
Hello, friends. Look at this mountain. It's impressive. It looks like it's formed by hundreds of different stones. Get your explorer kit ready. Today, we're going to learn everything about minerals and rock. Look at this stone. I've never seen one like this before. You know what? It's a rock, though sometimes we also call them stones. Rocks are the solid parts of the earth and can be very different from each other. There are many types of rocks. We're going to use this magnifying glass to observe this rock. Can you see it's made up of different elements? That's right.
you heard what he said? The rocks are made up of different elements. Okay, so if you're made up of soil and soil comes from the rocks, that will make you an elemental source. All right, and just like how we were saying on the Naturalist over at 432thedrop.com Wednesday, you are the elemental. You are the elemental, Shabbat, and that's the marvel. All right, this is why, I was able to tap into the ether being personified, but right now we're digging on the earth. My nigga, I'm showing you the earth. You. Let's get this back. We're talking about elements, all right? Elements. You are the elemental. Let's get it.
Rocks. We're going to use this magnifying glass to observe this rock. Can you see it's made up of different elements? That's right, my friend. Those elements are called minerals, and all rocks are made up of them. Rocks are composed from combinations of minerals that have formed naturally over time. On the basis of their origin, rocks can be classified as igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Let me show you some examples of rocks. This is granite rock, coal, and marble. Did you know that petroleum, even though it's liquid, is a rock too? Petroleum is formed from the remains of living things like animals and plants, and from sediment deposits found in marine beds. Rocks are extracted from the surface of the earth in quarries, or they are mined underground. Minerals are very different from each other and have important physical properties: hardness, shape, luster, and color. Come with me. I'll show you some minerals. This one here is a diamond, the hardest mineral that exists. This one is talc, the softest mineral. This is a quartz. It can be white or pink.
We're right back to these crystals. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, don't be a stranger. Come over and check out the site, naturalbylaw.net. Alright, for naturals, gems, and stones. You know what I'm saying? Come peep us out, come see what we got. It's crazy how we're talking about minerals, and minerals being elements, and elements being of the soil, and soil being a part of your genetic makeup, making you elemental. You know what I'm saying? But when we tell you to crystallize, we mean that shit. You know what I'm saying? Peace to all the loved ones. Shouts out to everybody surfing the wave. I hope you building up. We just having a moment of creation. You know what I mean? Separating the archaic from the modern, dodging all hijacks and fucking with no Neanderthals. Peace.
And this is gold, a very shiny material. Since prehistoric times, people have used rocks and minerals for a number of things like making utensils, building their houses, paving, or even making beautiful jewelry. Would you like to try doing this activity?
Alright, so here we have grafting, right? And grafting refers to a surgical procedure to move tissue from one side to another on the body or from another creature without bringing its own blood supply with it. Instead, a new supply grows in after it is placed. A similar technique where tissue is transferred with the blood supply intact is called a flap. In some instances, a graft can be an artificially manufactured device. Examples of this are a tube to carry blood flow across a defect or from an artery to a vein for use of hemodialysis. All right. So this is an artificially manufactured device. Grafting is taking something that does not belong to the original body and placing it on something else. That's what grafting is. All right. And as we surf through these tabs, you're gonna understand and figure out why, we're surfing on this term grafting. All right. It says unearthing Neanderthal population history using ancient nuclear DNA from cave sediments. Let's see what we got here, partner. Let's see what we're talking about. It says mitochondrial DNA of archaic humans has been retrieved from cave sediments, but it has limited value for studying population relationships. Now researchers present a method for analyzing trace amounts of archaic human nuclear DNA from sediments. Their work studying ancient sediments from Western Europe and Southern Siberia has revealed new insights into Neanderthal population history. While recent studies have shown that it's possible to recover hominin mitochondrial DNA from Pleistocene age archaeological sediments, mtDNA only carries information about maternal lineage, which does not always reflect the complete genetic history of archaic humans. Although nuclear DNA contains far more information, its retrieval from sediments presents substantial challenges. It's far less abundant than mtDNA and difficult to distinguish from other non-hominin mammalian and microbial DNA, which dominates the genetic material often present in ancient sediments. Okay, and basically what they're saying is that they don't know the origin of the Y chromosome because they can only detect or study the mitochondria, right? Which is why I always let you know when it comes to the mitochondrial DNA, this is how you get to the clone. Okay, we're gonna prove to that today. But with this being said, they're trying to correlate a connection between this Neanderthal and an ancient population, but it doesn't exist because the Neanderthal didn't come from the ancient. That's why the connection is not there. The Neanderthal was grafted. We just saw the process of grafting, right? A graft can be an artificial manufactured device. So this is a surgical procedure that went down from taking one part of the body and placing it into a creature of some sort without using its own blood supply. That's what grafting is, and that's how we got into this Neanderthal talk, which is why they're trying to recover hominin mitochondrial DNA from the new ice age. They're telling you straight up, these new men and women came out of the new ice age or stone age. And this is right after your cataclysm, right after we were isolated as the Americans, the Aboriginals. All right, carrying forward, all right, the hybrid hypothesis, the other parent. Okay. And why might one suppose that humans are back-cross hybrids of the sort just described? Well, the most obvious reason is that humans are highly similar to chimpanzees at the genetic level, closer than they are to any other animal. If we were descended from F1 hybrids without any back crossing, we would be about halfway, genetically speaking, between chimpanzees and whatever organisms the other parent. But we're not. Genetically, they're closer to chimpanzees, and yet they have many physical traits that distinguish them from chimpanzees. This exactly fits the back-cross hypothesis. See, and this is what I was doubling back from, right? The back cross we explained in previous videos, especially with the Canaanite series. Okay, Canaanite series we deal with back crossing. Let's see. It says, moreover, in mammalian hybrid crosses, the male hybrids are usually more sterile than are the females. In a commercial context, this fact means that the livestock breeders typically backcross F1 hybrids of the fertile sex back to one parent or the other. They do not, as a rule, produce new breeds by breeding the first cross hybrids among themselves. Often, even after a backcross, only the females are fertile among the resulting hybrids, so repeated backcrossing is typical. Commonly, there are 2 or more generations of backcrossing before fertile hybrids of both sexes are attained, and the new breed can be maintained via mating among the hybrids themselves. More backcrossing tends to be necessary in cases where the parents participating in the original cross are more distantly related. So what they're saying is that, especially if, you apply this to dogs, right? And you breed dogs, you take, 2 different types of dogs, you take that offspring and you make that offspring back to one of the parents to keep that type of thing going until you get the desired result, So like I said, man, a lot of craziness tends to happen, which is why the pale scan is a genetic marker of such an error, and we'll touch into that in just a bit. But this goes to show you how this back crossing works along with grafting to be grafted back into something. So, even when we're talking about the covenant and how, many Christians are under the belief, no matter the denomination they're a part of, that they can be grafted back into the nation of Israel, and you can't. Because I'm not performing surgery to get your ass back in here. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to the rare breeds, man, because the rare breeds already know they chosen. But, we just got a great look at how backcross works and how this actually even took place in the first place, because we're talking about something that wasn't natural. And for once and for all, these Neanderthals are nothing natural. We're just having a memorization of a latter time. A remote time, I should say more. And that is Mu, that is Lemuria. That is the land of our text, our Tanakh, the Old Testament. All right, so we're going to carry on to the next tab. Let's get it. All right, so here we have interbreeding between archaic and modern humans. Now keep in mind that this archaic, right? This is the archaic. Okay. And we know what the modern human looks like. Okay, so they're saying that this happened, and I'm about to basically show that without the process of back crossing and grafting, this didn't happen the way people would think. All right. It says there is evidence for interbreeding between archaic and modern humans during the Middle Paleolithic and Upper Paleolithic. The interbreeding happened in several independent events that included Neanderthals and Denisovans, as well as several unidentified hominins. Okay, so it's interesting to say that they refer to us all as the same, right? The same type of people. And they misclassify us constantly as Africans, right? And then they say that, you know, people of African descent have no Neanderthal DNA, yet the people who don't have Neanderthal DNA are modern humans. But if we don't have, you know, Neanderthal DNA and yet we're modern, you know, we don't come from the Neanderthal, so how can the Neanderthal be more ancient than we? But the Neanderthal has our DNA in them, but we don't have Neanderthal DNA in us. Okay, so just by critical thinking alone, just sitting back, sipping my tea, you know what I'm saying? I understand what that archaic is in reference to us. At the same time, the modern human is them and us as well. All right. And that's how this is lining up. So with that being said, I want to scroll down here to this mitochondria, DNA, and Y chromosome. So let's get it. It says no evidence of Neanderthal mitochondrial DNA has been found in modern humans. This suggests that successful Neanderthal admixture happened in pairings with Neanderthal males and modern female humans, or human females. Now that's some spooky shit, you know, because what does that sound like? That sounds like some rape. Okay, this suggests that successful Neanderthal admixture happened in pairings with Neanderthal males, and modern human females. Why didn't they say Neanderthal men? Because we're not talking about men anymore. Now that we're talking about Neanderthal males and modern human females. Okay, that's a bit different. That's a bit extreme. It says possible hypotheses are that Neanderthal mitochondrial DNA had detrimental mutations that led to the extinction of carriers, that the hybrid offspring of Neanderthal mothers were raised in Neanderthal groups and became extinct with them, or that the female Neanderthals and male sapiens did not produce fertile offspring. However, the hypothesized incompatibility between the Neanderthals and modern humans is contested by findings that suggest the Y chromosome of Neanderthals was replaced by an extinct lineage of the modern human Y chromosome, which intergrows into Neanderthals between 100,000 and 370,000 years ago. Furthermore, the study concludes that the replacement of the Y chromosomes in mitochondrial DNA in the Neanderthals after gene flow from modern humans is highly plausible given the increased genetic load in Neanderthals relative to modern humans. All right, so this whole detrimental mutation is the Rh negative factor, you know, with those that are positive. So you have a Rh negative host, that mother, you know, won't be able to maintain a child that has the positive blood marker. Okay. And this is known. So we know this was an experiment that went down because the mother wouldn't be able to hold a natural man's womb or child in her womb. All right. So we know the natural man wasn't going around planting his seed into a Neanderthal woman to create this admixture. So, you know, again, blaming it on the man per se by him sticking his, you know, his stuff into whatever is not the case in this one. Ladies, I'm sorry. You're going to have to find another, you know, another direction to blame. But it was possible for the modern woman or the woman of today to go ahead and produce a child with a Neanderthal male, which is why we're talking about this now, because that's actually more than likely the terms of it. I mean, we talk about how Europeans came over to our lands and they raped and pillaged our people and our women right in front of us, and the madness that happened. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that that was, you know, the main cause behind everything, but this storyline coincides with what's going on. And if this is what they know, imagine the type of, you know, tactics they apply in warfare, because we are in warfare right now. This is a war. All right. And they can't find any mitochondrial DNA, which means that now all of these people come from a Aboriginal copper-colored woman. Straight up. Because the nuclear gene is what makes them modern humans, which means the original possessors of that egg aren't in the numbers they used to be, but you can still find them under the Rh negative blood type. And they are the original carriers, especially those women. They are the original carriers for this gene, because they won't be able to reproduce with someone who's positive. All right. So we just cleared that up right there, that there is no mixing on that tip. Okay. This happened by way of design, by way of creation, by way of trial and error. A despicable one in the sight of the Most High, which is why this ice age had to happen. He blasted this shit, right? He destroyed this mutation. He destroyed these works, busted up. All right. And he did this because it was foul. Look at the shit that we dealing with today with their offspring. Even though they still got partial of our DNA, it's still not helping them. They still do what they do to us. Hey, I'll tell everybody tapped in right now. We're going to continue. Peace, peace. And this is the ground state. All right. Now, since the Most High took the earth, which came from the ground, right? He took the earth that came out of the ground and formed you. It's only right that we talk about the ground state, right? Which is of a quantum mechanical system of its lowest energy state. The energy of the ground state is known as the 0 point energy of the system. All right. And we're talking about that ether right about now, you know, because this is the energy that makes us, that gives the body its function. So the ground state is known as a 0 point energy. Remember I told you to keep in mind the 0 point energy, right? Now we're back at that. It's the lowest possible energy that a quantum mechanical system may have. Okay, so we're talking about fields, right? But it's at its lowest point, which means that it can be cultivated. Okay. And from this cultivation, from this point, it's not excited yet, right? It's not, it doesn't have an influence just yet, but you can go ahead and do so because the energy point is so low, right? So you can turn it up a notch, or you can take it even more low, turn it down, right? But that leads us into the eventual build of this ether, right? And we go ahead and we dig on this ether from the fluctuating of the 0 point energy. So when it's fluctuated straight out the ground, it breaks through and it becomes the medium for the propagated light. All right. The wave connected to it is that is the buildup, right? This is how we know the ether is within us, especially when you dig on that black body radiation series. All right. This is what we're dealing on, man, because this is the wind. This is that air. All right. Particles versus waves. Okay, we talking about ether. All right. Which came from the 0 point energy out of the ground state, which is what you came when we're talking about a tauntaun, right? One sprung from the soil he inhabits, sprung from the land itself, literally. All right. We're talking about ground energy, 0 point energy, leading us to that ether. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and continue on. Peace. Okay, so here we have the definition from primordial as we get ready to ride on out. I want you to see that it says ancient, earliest, first, prehistoric, antediluvian. Alright, antediluvian, which is you, primordial one. And that's why when I talk this ancient, talk in the frequency, it pisses people off. They be like, damn, this nigga, he's saying this shit again. But it's because they got no connection to it, man. And honestly, yeah, it's like this again. It's gonna be like this until it's no more, until a naga can no longer breathe. And you gotta remember, and you gotta hear it every single time. You're gonna have to deal with this reminder. All right, this memorization that I'm flexing, you're gonna have to remember it every time I speak on it. Yes. Because we come from those with no name. I mean, how can we be Shem without the name? Everybody got a name except us. This is why we do it for Joy World. This is why we do it for Nagaville. You know what I mean? For the CUV, for all that. For all that. We just talking antediluvian, the antique. Alright. We're just building right now. We're just talking about humus. Humus. Which is the earth ground. Alright. It denominates the fraction of soil organic matter that is amorphous and without the cellular cake structure characteristics of plants and microorganisms or animals. Humus significantly affects the bulk density of soil and contributes to its retention of moisture and nutrients. Although the term humus and compost are informally used interchangeably, they are distinct soil components with different origins. Humus is created through anaerobic fermentation, while compost is the result of aerobic decomposition. All right. So this humus is the earth. It is the ground. And it's also what they want to say the base word for human. All right. Humus. But we got back in the visualization for soil that the most richest soil of organic matter, of organic life, is dark. It's melanated. And when we go and check out the tab for melanin, that's exactly what that dark matter, that organic matter was looking like. That soil was looking like that, right? I mean, who you think they fucking around with, man? You know what I'm saying? They should never let me navigate, bruh. Look, humus. We're proving the creator right here, right? Because the creator said he formed man out of the ground. Let's get it. And Hawa formed man out of the dust of the ground. Out of the ground, the dust. That's what we digging on, right? That's what we digging on with this humus. Furthermore, we have Homunculus, right? Or Homunculus, which is a tiny human being produced artificially. Literally a little person, but technically meant male human. This is your hominin right here, right? This is your hominin right here. These are the ones that impregnated the natural womb man to get the Neanderthal. All right. You see what's going on, right? The human race, mankind, a human being, this little person. And, you know, I'm aware of the fact that, you know, some guy came and developed a picture that shows a man with a big head, big arms, big feet. And they tried to say that this is the part of the body that the human brain gives importance and significance to first as a form of art. But we're digging on the etymology from the 1650s, which was way before this piece was projected. We're talking about the tiny human being produced artificially. All right. When we go back to grafting is something that can be artificially manufactured. All right. When we're talking about hybrids and backcrossing. All right. When we're talking about that, the Neanderthal female cannot hold the seed of a natural man. Right. So we know what's going on. Right. Because we're flexing our memory. We're in memorization right about now. You know, don't tempt me and say that this is just something that I'm thinking of. Don't try to say that I'm reaching, because, you know, it says we found evidence of the elusive orang pendek. All right. Let's dig on this orang pendek. All right. So this orang pendek. Right. It says, even in this age of satellite mapping and global positioning, there remain lost worlds where few humans tread and where species of animal unrecognized by science live. Karanisi Selblat National Park in West Sumatra is one such place. The size of a small country, its dim, steamy interior has never been explored properly. Last month, I returned to these jungles for the fourth time to travel or to track an elusive and as of yet unrecorded species of ape known to the locals as the orang pendek or short man. Short man, okay? Short man. They said the orang pendek means short man. Let's see. You know what I'm saying? This is orang pendek, and we've touched on this before in the Canaanite series. You know, that's why I said you're gonna have to go over there and check it out. But yeah, this orang pendek, it means little human, right? Or right here. It says Sahar told us of another creature that may inhabit the deep jungles. The orang kardil, or tiny men, are said to be a race of humans around 3 feet tall, quite distinct from the larger simian orang pendek. All right. So they're talking about tiny men. And that's exactly what this term is digging on. Only this term actually is just the same thing, you know. So despite what anyone want to say, they're in correlation with the same thing. And the locals are saying that this is a hominin of some sort of fashion, a new ape man. Alright, a new ape man, they say. And I mean, this is how we touch, right? This is how we touch on it. Let's see. We're getting ready to close out as we go ahead and get through the rest of these tabs. Let's go. Alright. Neanderthal DNA in modern human genomes is not silent. Alright. It says Neanderthal in our skin. Most Neanderthal variants exist in only 2% of modern people of Eurasian descent, but some archaic DNA is much more common and an indication that it was beneficial to ancient humans as they moved. Alright, dodge all the hijack. Alright, hold on. Let's see. Well, they're definitely saying how it's in the skin where you can tell. I was trying to figure out if they were going to say something, you know, in particular. You know what I'm saying? They're talking a lot about how it's in the skin, but they won't say as a way of how. Okay, right here. All right. It says specifically the archaic sequences spanning the BNC2 gene, a stretch of genome that Vernat and Aki had identified as having Neanderthal origin in some 70% of non-Africans, were clearly associated with skin color. People who carried Neanderthal DNA there tended to have pale skin that burnt instead of tan, Kelso said, and the stretch that included BNC2 was just one of the many. She adds around 50% of Neanderthal variants linked with phenotype in her study have something to do with skin and hair color. All right, so there you have it, right? That's one of the primary factors of the phenotype is this gene code, because your genes are coding, which is why, you know, Nagas is, you can be in the code, you can live in New York for pretty much as long as you want, and you're not going to turn into a different race based off the lack of sun you're getting. You know, your DNA will be replicated into the fertile soil you plant into by, you know, way of the instructions in your genes, man. That's how this shit works. It has nothing to do with evolution. Somebody set these folks up to perish, and that's just the fact. And that's why they want you to perish, because, you know, change is gonna come. You know what I'm saying? We talking about human skin color, right? Melanin in genes. See, we just talking about melanin in genes. Right, loss of body hair. You don't lose body hair, boy. Either you have it or you don't, because there's still people out here walking around that got that shit. All right, that's facts. Okay, so let's see. It said that the emergence of skin pigmentation dates back to 1.2 million years ago under the conditions of a mega drought that drove early humans into arid open landscapes. Such conditions likely caused excess UVB radiation. This favored the emergence of skin pigmentation in order to protect from foliate depletion due to the increased exposure to sunlight. A theory that the pigmentation helped counter exert stress by increasing the epidermal permeability barrier has been disproved. Yeah, because this shit is fucking stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Niggas is still walking around today pale as hell, and it has nothing to do with where they live. All right. They gonna talk about how dark everybody was and based off the skin types, the different variants and all that, right? It says light skin is able to generate more vitamin D than darker skin, so it would have been represented in a health benefit and reduce sunlight if there was limited source of vitamin D. Hence, blah 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 blah, right? But it says from about 1.2 million years ago to less than 100,000 years, archaic humans, including the archaic Homo sapiens, were dark skinned. Alright, with dark skin, man. You see what I'm saying? Archaic, they're really talking about you. And archaic is the first. The first. Those who began, those who are here to rule, straight from the archons, which are the chiefs. The ones you can't see. The Elohim. You see what I'm saying? And this is within Wikipedia, man. I just caught this shit slipping. I caught these niggas slipping hard. Snoozing. You know what I mean? But I didn't wait for the alarm clock. I just smacked their ass. Bang! Archaic humans, including archaic Homo sapiens, were dark skinned. We talking about you. You know, so we're gonna drop the mic on that Ahab. I'm feeling really joyous right about now. I would go on a big rant and talk that shit, but it's been such a smooth, pure water flow. I'm gonna just leave it like that. We're gonna set it on ice. We're gonna set it on ice for the try. You know, and I've been at this for quite some time, over 2 hours already. So we're gonna ride out to the last presentation, and I'm gonna say Ahab from the hard bone to everybody tuned in. I appreciate it. Man, the Ahab is above real. You know what I mean? To the 9 and beyond. Shouts out to all the brethren, to all the sisters, to all the aquas, to those continuously charging me up. You're beautiful. And like I said before, if nobody loves you out there, natural loves you. You know what I'm saying? That's a real deal. We got to be more concerned with each other. We got to be more aware of our mental health with one another. And, you know, it's always cool to tap in to make sure you upholding the code, because I want to make sure the person next to me is just as strong as me, so we can uphold the code together. And with that being said, I do these presentations out of the joy of the heart to see you guys make it through another checkpoint. So Shabbat Shalom to all the Shabbat out there that is the tribe, and Ahab, which is love. Till next time, we'll see y'all. Peace. Now, by the title alone, you can tell Neanderthal versus Homo sapiens, Planet of the Ape Man. I did one of these features in the title of the same name, Battle for Earth. You could check it out. We kind of, hinting at the same thing, but we're going to get back to it just real quick as we close this out. You let me know who's the Neanderthal. You let me know who's the Homo sapien. You let me know who's the archaic, and you let me know who's the modern new man. All right. Hua hua.
Neanderthals were originally dark-skinned, but over hundreds of thousands of years, their skin colour had become lighter in the colder, darker climate of Europe.